Russia and Ukraine exchanged deadly strikes over the weekend, both sides targeting major cities, energy facilities and warehouses.
Ukraine, the largest by its courage, we're not afraid of massive missile strikes, Russian aircrafts and never-ending tank columns. Ukrainian courage has inflicted heavy losses on the Russian army, which has already lost more of its soldiers than during the previous decades of regular wars.
Look, I need to tell you something right now, and I want you to listen very carefully to what is actually happening behind closed doors in Moscow, because the official state television broadcasts are lying to you. Right now, inside the command bunkers of the Russian General Staff, the atmosphere isn't calm. It's pure, unadulterated panic. We are talking about an emergency that military analysts spent decades saying was literally impossible. Over 600 long-range strike drones, not a dozen, not 50, but more than 600 autonomous, death-dealing machines, tore through the pitch-black night skies and descended directly onto the Moscow region in one of the most violent, coordinated saturation attacks of the entire century. And honestly, this is where it gets terrifying. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin rushed to emergency cameras to claim that air defenses had intercepted nearly 200 incoming threats over the metropolitan approaches, trying to put on a brave face for the public. But state-run media couldn't hide the smoke billows rolling across the horizon. Debris from shattered interceptors came crashing down directly onto residential neighborhoods in the Pavlovsky Posad and Bogorodsky districts. Homes were instantly engulfed in towering infernos. Civilians, including a 10-year-old girl, were rushed to hospitals with horrific shrapnel injuries. Think about that for a second. The Russian capital, surrounded by the S-400 Triumph missile systems, electronic jamming walls, and decades of layered air defense architecture designed to rival Washington, D.C., was left completely naked to an overhead swarm. And that wasn't even the worst part. Farther east of the capital, a colossal logistics and e-commerce warehouse belonging to Wildberries took a direct hit from a high-speed projectile, blowing out its outer walls and sparking a massive industrial fire. Now, why does a commercial warehouse matter to a war room? Because Western intelligence agencies and open-source investigators have uncovered a brutal truth. Modern warfare isn't just fought with tanks on muddy fields. It's won or lost in the supply chains. That specific warehouse complex wasn't just shipping clothes and electronics. Ukrainian military intelligence tracked it as a critical distribution node, funneling components, mechanical parts, and electrical systems straight into Russian frontline drone assembly lines. When that warehouse exploded, it wasn't just a building going up in flames. It was a message written in fire, delivered straight to the gates of Vladimir Putin's capital. Your rear areas do not exist in a vacuum, and your multi-billion-dollar security bubble is nothing more than wet cardboard. To understand why this attack sent shockwaves all the way up to the Kremlin, we have to look at what Russia believed was its ultimate shield. For years, Russian military doctrine relied on the concept of absolute strategic depth. The idea was simple. Moscow is massive, heavily fortified, and protected by rings of surface-to-air missile batteries that nothing could possibly breach. Russian citizens were told that the war was something happening far away, in the Donbass, in muddy trenches hundreds of miles to the south. The war was supposed to be a spectator sport, watched safely from apartment balconies in the capital. That illusion shattered in a matter of hours, when those 600 drones began swarming the capital airspace. They didn't just test physical armor. They completely broke the Russian military's mathematical models. You see, high-end air defense is a game of brutal economics. When a nation fires a multi-million-dollar interceptor missile at a low-cost, long-range uncrewed drone built out of fiberglass and commercial engines, the defender is losing a devastating financial war of attrition. And Russian commanders made a desperate, panicked gamble. To protect the skies over Moscow, they had to start pulling mobile air defense batteries away from active front lines in Ukraine, stripping their own frontline troops of essential cover just to save the capital from total humiliation. That, right there, is the trap. Ukraine isn't trying to match Russia tank for tank or soldier for soldier. They are using an asymmetric strategy designed to make Russian military power mathematically unsustainable. You don't have to destroy every single soldier in an army to defeat it. You just have to force their command structure into an impossible dilemma. Do you protect the front lines where you are trying to advance, or do you strip your defenses to save your capital from burning? When a superpower is forced to choose between defending its president's doorstep and holding its conquered territory, the entire strategy has already started to rot from the inside out. While Moscow was scrambling jets and activating emergency electronic jamming protocols across the capital, military analysts inside the Pentagon and U.S. European Command were glued to their monitors, watching history unfold in real time. This conflict has become the ultimate battlefield laboratory for the United States, NATO, and modern military planners. What the Pentagon is witnessing right now is a complete revolution in the kill chain. For decades, military technology was defined by expensive, exquisite platforms, massive stealth bombers, multi-billion-dollar aircraft carriers, and complex armor divisions that took years to build. But what Ukraine is proving with these massive drone swarms is that cheap, networked precision can paralyze high-end military power. Think about the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. In this conflict, that loop has been compressed from hours down to mere minutes. Commercial satellite imagery, encrypted battlefield radios, autonomous drone reconnaissance, and artificial intelligence targeting feeds are merging into a single, lightning-fast digital network. And the U.S. military is taking frantic notes. American defense planners are realizing that future peer conflicts won't be won by whoever has the biggest stockpile of traditional heavy weapons. They will be won by whoever can master electronic warfare, saturate enemy radar networks, and protect their own logistics hubs from cheap, autonomous aerial threats. Every single drone that hit the Moscow region was a lesson in modern tactical adaptation. When Russia attempted to counter the threat by shifting radar frequencies and increasing electronic jamming, Ukrainian operators adapted on the fly, reprogramming guidance systems and exploiting gaps in the electronic umbrella. It is a relentless, high-stakes chess match played out at the speed of a microchip. But let's be completely honest about the dark reality of what happens next, because wars aren't won on spreadsheets. They are fought with blood and explosive steel. Russia didn't just sit back and absorb the blow. As frontline ground combat ground into a bloody, freezing stalemate, and diplomatic negotiations remained completely frozen, both sides escalated the violence to terrifying new heights. In the wake of the drone strikes on Moscow, Russian retaliatory bombardments intensified across Ukrainian cities. In the eastern city of Izium, an overnight Russian drone and missile strike tore through residential neighborhoods, injuring 5 people, including a 9-year-old boy. In Brovary, just outside Kyiv, explosive drones smashed into office buildings and industrial warehouses, sparking raging fires that lit up the night sky. The civilian death toll has reached its highest, most harrowing levels since the opening months of 2022. According to United Nations tallies, hundreds of civilians are dying every single month in a relentless cycle of mutual bombardment. Both sides are doubling down on long-distance strikes because neither can achieve a decisive, sweeping breakthrough on the ground. And this is where the suspense peaks, because when a nuclear-armed state like Russia faces repeated humiliation on its own soil, the question every intelligence analyst in Washington asks is, how far up the escalation ladder is Putin willing to climb? Every time Ukraine punches a hole in Russian air defenses, the risk profile of the entire conflict shifts. Moscow is forced to disperse its strategic aircraft, move its command posts hundreds of kilometers deeper into the interior, and spend billions of rubles fortifying rear areas that were supposed to be safe sanctuaries. So what is the actual takeaway from all of this? What is the secret that turns this entire war upside down? Here is the ultimate truth that the Kremlin desperately wants to hide from the world, and it changes everything you thought you knew about modern warfare. Ukraine's greatest victory isn't the physical damage caused by a burning warehouse in the Moscow suburbs, or the shattered glass in residential districts, or even the headlines screaming about 600 drones in the capital's airspace. The real victory is strategic paralysis. A military can survive losing equipment. It can replace tanks, patch up warehouses, and rebuild damaged airfields. But what a military cannot survive is the loss of operational freedom. By forcing Russia to constantly look backward, to panic over its capital's security, to pull air defense batteries off the front lines, and to spend astronomical resources defending its own backyard, Ukraine has achieved something extraordinary. They have forced the Russian war machine into a state of permanent defensive anxiety. Russia still has thousands of tanks, millions of artillery shells, and massive stockpiles of missiles. But having weapons doesn't mean anything if you are too terrified of your enemy's intelligence network to safely position them where they need to be. Ukraine didn't need to destroy the entire Russian army. They only needed to make Russia afraid to use it effectively. And in the next Great War, the most terrifying weapon won't necessarily be the missile that obliterates a military base. It will be the invisible, flawless intelligence that tells your enemy precisely where you are hiding. Long before you ever realize, the trap has already been snapped shut.